All right. Awesome. So yeah, so I did this 2-hour Reiki recommitment on Friday with a group of people. I actually knew one of the individuals, and it was so magical to be able to connect with her in that way as well. I
So
didn't know that she was involved with this. So, but now there's another layer to our relationship,
this
which is
wasn't in the studio where we got our Reiki done, right? Like that.
no, no, it was at the Davis Bay Hall.
Okay.
And there were, anyway, it was wonderful. We got to pick our chairs. There was a card under the chair, and of course, that was the perfect card. And you know how that goes. And so having learned Reiki the way I learned Reiki, it was a lot of self-taught, kind of looking at pictures and understanding it that way, as opposed to actually experiencing Reiki. Because I like I've been to one Reiki session, my eyes were closed the whole time.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know what I was getting. So we did the hand positions, but the hand positions even were different. Like they were, I was really stuck on the book, wanting to make sure I was doing it the right way. And what I learned was that, there's lots of ways to do this. And you can do, your physical self, but you can also do this energy self as well, which is a little bit of a different practice. And so just kind of watching how they introduced this to me added more layers to my own learning. But I have a hard time still visualizing. So when she's walking us through a guided visualization and applying Reiki to myself, I'm like, am I doing this right? I still can't necessarily see it, but I have this knowing. I just trust that whatever she's saying, like I'm already there. Like I don't want to have a space and distance between those two things. I don't want to have to think about it.
Yeah.
So I've tried to adopt this idea of, well, it just is. And when I asked about that, she's like, oh yeah, that's the way that that's where we want to all get to. So for those who can visualize, okay, you see yourself doing this, they did a really awesome grounding experience, and I've actually followed Nyla. She's done this incredible grounding. If you look up Nyla Falarado on Instagram and go onto her website, you can register to get a free guided meditation, and it's a grounding meditation. And I've been doing this like almost every single day for the last 2 weeks since I signed up. It's a
How
meditation,
long is it?
10 minutes.
Okay.
It's it's phenomenal.
Really
And
cool.
so there's the protection, you see you holding your heart center and bringing in the golden white light of all that is, that's always with us, and breathing that into the heart chakra and filling the entire physical being with that and expanding that into the bubble around us. Um, Connecting the crown chakra to all that is in the greatest consciousness, and then through the feet is and through the root chakra is imagining a column of this very same energy going down through all the layers of Mother Earth, all the way to the heart of Mother Earth, and where you tie up, connect, secure, grounded, safe through the whole meditation. But then what we do is, as we breathe in and breathe out, so when I exhale, I'm imagining this golden white light that is me pushing down in through all the root systems, through all of Mother Nature, and connecting my white light in through Mother Nature. And as I inhale, I'm imagining her energy coming back up with me, and this gorgeous exchange of breathing. And it is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. Honestly, I feel so grounded when I do this. And imagining those different colors, my mind doesn't wander. This is the first time I'm not necessarily seeing all of that, but as I'm breathing, I know that I'm connecting
Right.
with Mother Earth and I'm expanding. I
Well,
mean,
you're in the moment. You're in the here
yeah,
and now, right? Which is
yeah,
part of meditation that I have found challenging because I start out it there, and then I find myself, thinking about 3 years ago laundry. Like
yes.
like so silly. And I'm like, how odd is that? And meditation has become, a fairly integral part of my day. So I would love to be able to, particularly the visual stuff, because I'm a visual learner. What's going on? You're having a dream. The dog's having a dream. And being connected in that way, that sounds lovely.
It
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
It really is. Um, and what I find though, by introducing touch, right, by bringing that Reiki right in and holding myself, it is another layer of focus,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm now imagining not just breathing through my mouth and nose like I would normally do, but I'm actually breathing through my heart
Mm-hmm.
and connecting to that. energy of all that is.
Yes, yeah,
It
absolutely. Yeah.
and when I did, you know, Jeff and I did Reiki self sessions together, where I brought Reiki through his hands so that he could do his own touch.
Mhm.
He actually found himself able to focus much better by actually touching himself because it gave him something to focus on other than what's in the head. Yeah. So really, it was incredible. So we've all committed to doing 90 days of every single day doing a daily self Reiki practice to keep ourselves connected for all the reasons that
Started
that
in
we wanted exactly. And in January we're going to do a reconnection and continue to recommit every 90 days. I think the one in January is going to be on Zoom 10, so you can jump on.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do that. And, I think that I was in a conversation I had with a friend of mine. So I visited someone on the island that I haven't seen in many years. And I had forgotten why we were friends. Like, I forgot the reason why we became deep friends. I guess I don't know how else to say that. I missed him, certainly, but I had forgotten how intense and amazing and in depth our spiritual conversations were. So, a couple hours went by very quickly and it was like, holy crap, it's 10. I got to go home and go to bed. But some of the stuff that we talked about was just profound. And he asked me a question, and what came out was, healer, heal thyself.
Mm,
And then this profound feeling of
mhm.
allowance, permission,
Yeah.
giving myself the permission that, for years I have used my energy to help others. Certainly, I feel that, um, to the point where it was robbing from me. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't know that at the time. So now that I do, I get to concentrate on healing thyself and how powerful that is. So I was saying earlier, like, I'm in the sauna this morning, and about, halfway through that session, I remember I'm brought to Reiki. And my initial thought is, oh, I should have done that from the beginning, and
Mhm,
that stuff. And then it's like, well, maybe it's too late. And it's like, oh, for God's sakes, why not? Like, why not engage with that? You're sitting here and you have the ability. And when you welcome in that energy and you do the ritual, because I don't know that we're ever turned off, but the ritual of connecting, then
mhm.
all of the sudden that surgence of power that's coming through me, I can feel it and I can be present for it. So that feels pretty amazing. And I think to myself, uh, I've earned this and I so deserve this. And so why not take luscious, beautiful care of myself, and not worry about what anyone else is doing or how they're thinking or how they're feeling. Pretty amazing.
That word allow came up for me actually on Friday night as well. So we as a group, we had our own column of light that was grounding us, but we also plugged into group energy.
Yeah.
And that feeling, and I'm getting goosebumps again just thinking about that moment. Oh, it was it was the first time I feel like I've really, connected to people outside of some of that program work that I've done in the past, where it was, oh my gosh, I was overwhelmed with that love, like, to the point where tears were involuntary. It was about allowing that love in. Because there was a part of me that was like, "Oh my gosh, I don't wanna be the only one crying," but it was unstoppable, right? Um, and being vulnerable and willing to talk about that, and then it went from that allowing piece into some of the work that I need to do, I think, around my own shame and guilt about not allowing love in the past from people who tried to love me, most specifically my daughter,
Mhm.
because she was what I learned from my mom was, no, we don't let that love in. And I did a little bit of that with my daughter when she was younger, and there's a piece of me that I need to heal. I need to heal that for me and for her and for my mom. And and that was just a really big aha moment. Just connecting into that group energy was so overwhelming. And I think that's the experience I get when I walk into a church. Cause like literally, I'm not a church person, but there's the energy of the people in the church that are so plugged in. And that feeling for me is always overwhelming. It's always brought me to tears. It's always stirred up some level of
Well, and
really
I
deep
don't, is it
emotion.
overwhelm or is it move? Does it move?
Maybe it's move. Yeah, maybe it is. Because it's not something I experience outside of a church, like as far
Running
back
the
as I can remember.
doors.
Okay.
Overwhelm would mean, to me, overwhelm would mean that you'd go running out the doors in retreat of the overwhelm, right? But when I'm in that situation, I'm moved. I'm moved to that place of emotion, and allowing the emotion to come. And what I heard you say before was, I have to do this for my daughter and for my mom. And what I offer is, I get to do this.
Mm,
It's an opportunity, and I allow myself
absolutely.
to move into that opportunity to be moved. And so I had a similar experience yesterday in class. We had to be the angel for ourselves. So the idea is,
Mm,
we're working on, we all have 4 values that we're working on, 3 that are strong and 1 that is something that you'd like to, get to the edge of and expand. And so it was with the 3 that are consistent, or I guess, or I don't know what the word is, but anyway, that you've identified, right? So to identify those things and then speak to self. So an empty chair, standing above the chair, being the observer of this, and speaking to me as if I'm in the chair, and saying all the
mm,
things that I appreciate in the ways that I see that I'm already experiencing these values. And
mm.
immediately, as you know, and many others, I move to emotion. And what I hear in my class so often is, I can't cry. I can't let anyone see this. I'm like, where else are we going to do this if not with 40 people that we completely trust, that we've been together with for years and years and years? And people think it's odd or unusual that I do that. And I think it's normal. And I want to normalize feeling and having it be okay, even though it got messy, right? Like it was snotty, free flowing, whatever. But instead of being tense and wondering what everybody on the screen was thinking, I was just in the moment.
Yeah.
I was in the moment with myself going, hey, you know what, girl? These are all the things that I appreciate about you, and letting that be okay. Because in the past, I would have diminished it somehow by apologizing for it being the way that it was, the way
Hmm.
that it showed up, and usually emotionally. And I used to think of my emotions as a grand weakness. And I now understand that is where my leadership is.
Mm.
And so I love that quality about myself. And I want to expand that. And I want other people to feel comfortable enough to come and be emotional. I think that, in studying some of the stuff with Lori Ladd, Aaron Abke, and Kyle Cease, it was, that stuff will surface as we need it. I don't
Absolutely.
have to go looking for it. It's not something I have to think of in the morning. Okay, well,
Yeah.
what am I going to heal today?
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to come up today. It
I
was,
was caught in that loop. I was totally caught in that loop for a bit. And then I saw that video and I was like, okay, I'm out.
and that piece of, so for instance, I'm sitting in the sauna and I then say to myself, where is the emotion? Why
Yeah.
isn't it here? I think that this should be happening right now.
Yeah. I'm ready for it.
I'm in the sauna and this is when it's supposed to happen. As opposed to, it was later that day, as a matter of fact. I'm walking up the freaking stairs and all of a sudden, I'm bawling. And it wasn't because it wasn't available then. It's kind of like trying to excavate the bowels before they're ready to go. It's like you could sit there forever and try and try and try, but you're going to exhaust your body and probably do more damage than good. Your body will tell you, right? It'll be like, oh, okay, now, not a half an hour ago, not 3 hours ago, not last night, now. And I
Hmm.
get so caught up in the resistance of, but I sense and feel that it should be now. It's like trying to control, things that are
Yeah.
out of my control, and just allowing those things to come up as they do, and then clear them,
Yeah.
allow them, instead of, what I heard Kyle say this morning was, instead of looking for the meaning in it, kind of thing. So all of a sudden the emotion is up and I'm like, okay, why am I feeling this?
Yeah.
As opposed to just allowing the feeling to come up and be felt and dissipate. So, oh, us human beings, we're complicated, or we make
It's
more complicated than they need to be, I think. But
it's true. But then, I'm still learning how to allow myself to be vulnerable in all
yeah,
situations, especially when it comes to emotion and demonstrating that. So on Friday night, I felt it was a safe place for me to do that, and I shared some went a little bit deeper in terms of my sharing with the intention of opening that door so others would feel safe to do the same as well. And I know how that works. And I've done a lot of, a lot of work on some of that stuff. So I feel like, okay, I should be good at this by now. But when I remember back, I remember feeling like I was like, even watching a movie with my partner who we've been together 10 years, I still want to hide my emotion if I'm being drawn to tears over something something silly in a movie. And and then I
I
think
don't hide that
about
shit ever.
what's that?
And I don't hide that shit ever. I don't know.
I know, but there's a lot of people out there like me who
Yeah,
are really wanting to, and it's scary, right? It's, well, what is the scare? What is this fear? And so then I start thinking about, well, I remember showing emotions as a kid.
yeah.
And I remember that's when I used to get in, not in trouble, but I would have
Reprimanded.
words against,
Mhm.
like, come on, you got to be a big girl. You got to be a tough girl. You better be a strong girl. And I can't imagine for some of the boys who are raised by men who would say, you don't be a crybaby, like, come on, you can't be like that. Buck up. Exactly. So men have learned in a lot of situations, as have women,
Yeah,
to just not go there. If I show emotion, I'm weak.
yeah.
And so how do we tease that out? And how do we I know what you're saying is you're doing this is part of your everyday life, you're integrating that into everything so that people around you feel safe and comfortable to do the same thing. But when there's these deep-seated trauma around showing emotion, and I have somebody in my life who is unfortunately repeating the history of his own father, and I can see this, and it's absolutely
I
heartbreaking.
bet. Yeah.
um I'm wondering how I can be an influence on somebody who's in a situation like that.
Be the example. I mean, that's literally the only thing we actually have control over, right?
Yeah.
Own beingness and what we do with it, and leading by example, and allowing allowing the control or the expectation to fall away that you want something for someone else that they may never want,
That's true.
for themselves.
They may never want that.
May never want it. And I've made myself crazy. Like, I want you to want this. I just
Yeah.
want this. Like, it's so good. If you could just like want it, it would be good for me. And unfortunately, I mean, I learned that thankfully fairly early on in parenting teenagers, right? Like trying to get them to do things and trying to control and contrive, like how they'll do it, and that they need to know these things for real life. And the problem was that I was concentrating all my time and effort on someone else's behavior outside of myself, which I have no control over, and not leading by example. And when I started leading by example, all of a sudden magic started happening all around me, not just with my kids, but many others, because
Mhm.
I don't know why I have some influence, but whenever I talk, people listen. So I go, okay, well, I'm just doing my thing over here. What I've noticed is people will be inspired to create change in themselves if they're ready to do so, if they choose that, right? And also the heartbreak around letting go of that, that my desire outweighs yours
Mm.
at this time, right? And you
Yes.
never know. It could be the moment that you actually let go of the control or the expectation around that person starts to go, oh, I can hear you now.
Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? This is so long ago. I think I was 9 years old, and my mom and dad had this babysitter who was a friend of the family, and she'd come over, and I was just obsessed with this woman. She was beautiful, she was older, and I had just come to know God at that time. I was really involved with the church, and I was like, okay, everybody I talk to, like, that I care about has to be saved by Jesus Christ. And I was crying and pleading with her to please take Jesus Christ into her heart.
Wow.
That's as I understood it. And she was like, this is not going to happen, Carol. Like, I am not interested. This is not my thing. She just like, and I was bawling.
Yeah.
I was praying for her to take Jesus into her heart because
Wow.
I did not want her to go to hell.
Yeah.
My understanding of all of that stuff. I mean, all of that stuff aside, I mean, I was in the right place for the right reasons, I believe.
Mhm.
But that is one of my earliest memories of trying to control something outside of myself. That was absolutely heartbreaking. And I still remember that emotion, just feeling so frustrated, feeling so lost, feeling so desperate for her to be saved,
Yeah.
in my
Because you loved
understanding.
her, because you cared about her. It was from a place of care, a
It
place.
was. Absolutely it was. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that, how old did you say you were?
I was 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was far before youth group then.
That was long before youth group.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting, eh? And
Yeah.
I can relate though, like that piece of, you know, seeing people's greatness when they can't see it themselves, and how frustrating it is, right? To go, but if you could just only see, meanwhile,
Yeah.
I've got hundreds of people that feel the same way about me, right?
Yeah.
If you
Exactly.
could only see. And then coming this year into this place where it's like, ah,
Mm.
I see. I see and feel. And allowing that place to be home base and connected, and putting self first. Because ultimately, I think that, we all learn how to be in service to others because we depend on others from the very get go, right? And when that doesn't go well, we make up that we've done something wrong and that we must earn the right to for this loving connection to happen. And what
Mm.
I'm learning is the loving connection is right here, like it's within. And, every freaking book and movie that's ever been made about this, it's great to see it on the screen or in writing, but it never really sunk in until I decided that I could let all of that over functioning, trying to control expectation go and just bring it all home.
Mhm.
And I would imagine that circumstance, age, birth order, everything that's led up until this point in time certainly has informed that decision. But how liberating
Mhm.
I'm feeling right now, liberating in the midst of this liberation of feeling like I have to earn my worth by
Mm.
doing something for someone else, and this constant, am I there yet? Can someone tell me, like, do I have worth yet? And turning that around to, yes baby, you do, and how rich and full that actually is in reality. And
Mhm.
telling myself the truth about that instead of buying into the lie that was perceived at one point in time to be the truth.
Well, yes, because we're brought into this world and immediately we're given, you're either a boy or a girl. You're either, cute or you're not cute. Like we right out of the gates, there's things that we do as people, as human beings, to separate ourselves from the who we really are.
Yeah.
Um, and and it's heartbreaking to me. It's heartbreaking to me as I look back and I think, my God, I've always had this belief that we come into this world whole and complete, and we give pieces away. Is the story that I've been telling myself. This is the lie that I've been telling myself, is that over the course of my years, I've been giving myself away. And that's actually not true at all, because I'm still whole and complete. Even when I was totally broken, even when I thought I wasn't going to survive whatever it was that I was looking at, I was still whole and complete in that moment. And so, with this wisdom and seeing that now, it's like, oh, what a difference. Like I mean, and I'm just filled with goosebumps right now as I say this out loud, because it is true. We are still connected. We are still one. We are still whole. We're always going to be whole. We're always going to be complete, no matter where we are on this journey of life.
So cool to have that
It
realization.
is.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I hear in a meditation that I listen to of Kyle Cease's is, you know, without the trigger, we don't grow. We're not
Mm.
wouldn't be
Yes.
initiated, right? Like,
Yes.
traveling along and everything was kosher and stuff like that, then it would all be kosher and everything would be great and nothing would irritate me and it wouldn't get under my skin and it wouldn't be like, this reaction. It wouldn't be reactionary. So it takes the, whatever the abrasiveness is that we bump up to into in life, and coming to this place where it's like, instead of being traumatized by it, which has been my story for a very long time, it's switching it to, okay, so here's an opportunity. What is it trying to communicate to me? What is it that I
Yeah.
need to either feel or heal or do or be in this moment in order for this to pass through me? Because I am a conduit of that stuff. I am
Hmm.
not that stuff. I am a conduit to that stuff, right? So, and my history does, I am not my history. I am not my traumas. I am not my thoughts.
Hmm.
And yes,
That's
agreed that we are whole and well. And even, for me, the moment of realizing that my shadow is also a part of me.
yes. How many times I have in my life not want to own that part of me that I didn't like. Nope, that's not me. Oh, guess what, Carol? Yep, that's me.
And or shaming it, right?
Yes.
You
Or
know,
the guilt and that, oh, that awful cycle that I would go through, and then I would hurt myself more because I was feeling so shitty about it.
yeah. And I remember having a moment where I felt like I need someone to, to help me in this moment, and then realizing I don't actually. I
Yeah,
need myself. And then sitting in my car, rocking myself and bawling like a baby and saying, you know what, T, I so got you, man. And I'm here and I'm never going anymore again, because I now understand and know that I can be there for myself, and that I don't need some sort of outside validation for literally anything, and I don't need outside permission for absolutely anything. So when I get to tell myself those capital T truths, all of those things that have happened in the past where I have felt victim to
mm,
stop looking like that. They're reframed in a place of, it happened. Here's what happened afterwards, and here's what I can do to release the hold that it's had on me, and the stuck energy that has lived, free rent in my body and my mind for a friggin' long time, man. And so I just
100%.
keep releasing, and I'm just like, you know what? Let it go, and honor yourself in the ways that you've always wanted to honor yourself, but never felt permission to do so, because it was, well, I have to do this for that person, and all the
Mhm.
list of things to do, and all of a sudden drinking enough water is on the bottom, and I get to the end of the day and my body's like, please drink some water for God's sakes, right? Whereas now, when I put those things first, when I put my well-being, my best interest as my number one priority, everything else either falls away and or becomes secondary to, that idea of honoring oneself at the highest level.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yay.
Yes.
What great
Cool.
conversations you and I have, man.
I know, I love it.
It is so great.
I love it. And there's a lot of people who watch
Yeah.
well, there's a lot of people watching this that are going, "What are they talking about?" You know? And I remember the beginning of my journey too and not quite understanding. I recently just watched Jim Carrey's he gave a speech at a school that he had
Love it.
attended,
Yep.
and
Saw it.
I've watched that, I don't know how many times in the past, but watching it again
Mhm.
just the other day was like watching it for the first time
I
again.
know. So cool.
And I connected to it at, again, another level, and, oh,
And I would
that's what
not expect, like, I know Jim Carrey, I like him because he's Canadian, and I
Mhm.
think he's talented, but like Ace Ventura and stuff like that wasn't my type of movies, right? So I was just like, but to see him move into this really spiritually grounded place, I'm like,
Yes.
wow, that is so cool. And realistically, what a cool story. Sat in front of the Hollywood sign, totally friggin' broke, and just wrote himself a check, and then believed in himself so much that he actualized those things. And I think that, I make up that there's something special about him, and that there's something different about him than me. And I'm like,
No.
hang on a second, we're actually the same. And when I allow myself to just get out of my own way, and I allow myself to really be deeply in relationship with self,
Mhm.
in a loving and kind and compassionate relationship with self, then all those other things figure themselves out. I don't have to, be pen and paper in the morning trying to figure this stuff out, because I'm not the one controlling any of that. I'm allowed to see and feel as things come up, instead of trying to concentrate on, well, I should practice this piece today, or I should heal this trauma today. It will come up when it's ready, and just allowing the space to allow that to happen, instead of trying to control those things that are never in my control. Ever.
Absolutely. Yeah. And by doing this work on ourselves, you become this model for people around you. You become a leader of self-care and self-love. And you know, he said there was one quote that he said in that movie or in that little clip that he recorded there. The effect that you have on others is the most valuable currency there is.
So true.
And I just love that so much.
Okay, so like I'm driving out of here the other day. I've got a fairly busy schedule, and last week was intense. It was intense. There was a lot of stuff coming at me. And I drive out the driveway to go get eggs because I need to eat something. And I'm like, that's a familiar sound. About to go on the highway. I guess I should pull over. And I'm going down a hill and I'm on the only flat part of that hill. And I get out and the tire is completely flat, like not even any air in it whatsoever. I've now driven a block on my rim, basically. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I do not want to be dealing with this right now. Like, why is this in my life? I don't want this in my life. I was so mad for about 3 minutes. Got out and actually screamed out loud, like, fuck. Like, I just was so angry. And then it was like, okay, Tanya, here's your reality. You don't have anyone that can come with a pump. And I'm so glad I was where I was because I would have called my boyfriend and had him come and rescue me. And what I, came to understand was I don't need anybody, that I am able and capable to do of anything that I set my mind to. And so it was like, okay, I guess you're changing a flat tire today. I know you didn't want to. I know you're not feeling it, but you're going to do it because that's how to get out of this situation and or walk home, leave your car here. Like you're at choice. And so choosing to do that, and then the liberating, amazing, incredible, visceral feeling afterwards when I was like, yes, I
Yes.
did that. I did that. And I didn't need anyone to save or rescue me, like everything. And then after I get my tire fit, like the timing of that, I was heading to get eggs an hour and a half ago. So now I'm at the light. I'm about to turn left into Cedar where they are going to have farm fresh eggs and outside, put your $5 in kind of thing. And I literally look over, and the person next to me is a friend of mine at the light,
Ah,
and I'm like, "Do you know, Tanya, how many things needed to line up in order for that to happen?"
exactly. Including that tire. Yeah.
Mostly that tire,
Yeah.
an hour and a half later. And both of us sort of looked at each other like, how strange and how unusual. But it isn't, because the life is full of serendipitous moments, right? And when we try and control them is usually when things get messed up.
That's
I
true.
just allow myself to surrender into what is showing up for me, even when it's a fucking flat tire and I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I learned so much through that. And then, I take a video and I put it up on social media, and all of a sudden it has 400 views and a bunch of people going, yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's not why I did it in the first place. It was more to vent, like, here's the morning I've had. But the outcome of that was so much greater than the intention. And it was so much greater than, I mean, I couldn't have, basically sent it to 400 people. Instead, I just say what my truth is, and whoever wants to listen, listens. And how powerful that is.
Yeah.
And whoever takes something from that will, and whoever doesn't. And I don't need to control either one of those things.
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All
Ever
right.
since I can remember, I've always been a silver lining person.
Yeah.
As a young kid, without really quite understanding why, I always understood in a very deep
On that
way
side of things. Yeah.
that there was always a reason for everything, and that at some point, if it didn't kill me,
Yeah.
and nothing has yet, right? Really? All those times when I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to get through this? I'm okay.
And yet you did.
And I'm still whole, and I was whole then.
Yeah. Well, and that's strength and spirit, right? To come to understand all of those parts of ourselves, even the ones that I deemed at some point in time as less than or unlikable,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And that in showing myself compassion in those shadow pieces has been the most delightful thing, because I kept living as if I weren't whole, as if this 1/3 of me was damaged and broken and therefore needing to be cut off like some kind of tumor, and eliminated
Yeah.
from my body. And I'm like, well, hang on a second. all of those things have informed everything up until now. And when I love them and embrace them, there's a peace that comes around that. The other
Mhm.
is this, you know, uh, this ugly, the ugly truth about me. And that we all have a version, right? Like I
Yes.
think we feel aloneness sometimes in that, well, if people could see this ugly piece of me or this ugly part of how I think or how I feel or whatever's coming up, that then they will judge me as less than and they won't love me. And I'm
Mhm.
saying when I learn to love those things in myself, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or feels. It just
Yes.
doesn't matter.
And never stop loving self. Like I know that I've heard this comment from a number of people when I've tried to introduce a new topic or an idea or practice with other people in my life. I'll hear, well, it's not working. I've tried it for 2 weeks and it's not working. And then they just want to abandon it.
Yeah.
And I can speak from my own experience. When I first started doing those Reiki daily sessions on myself, I too was waiting for the billboard with the flashing lights and the freaking marquee sign saying, Carol, you've arrived. But the truth is, it was never like that.
Yeah.
And every single day, one person asked me, well, how do you feel after you do a session? And I'm like, well, I feel grounded and I feel
Yeah.
awesome. They're like, oh, really? Maybe that's what it's about. I think we look for things
Yeah.
that we're looking for something instead of just being in that moment. And
And that's
so
external. It's
it
all
is.
external, right? So when
It's
I'm looking out, it's external. And I think that the biggest sort of magic chuckle and the irony in life is that our eyes are meant, or they're made to look out, right? Like, I mean, when we see things outside of ourselves. When I close my eyes and I get really still and I breathe myself into my body and I actually look, I see in.
mhm,
And it's what is within, that really matters. And
yeah.
the rest of it is going to do its thing around me. And can I be that eye in the storm? Can I be that thing that's so grounded in the center of all the chaos that I don't allow myself to then become whisked away by the chaos and affected to the degree where I'm no longer in my body?
Yeah. I actually had this conversation with my dad a couple days ago, and I said, Dad, you're always the eye of the storm.
Yeah,
It's a choice to step into
yeah.
the chaos. We're always the eye of the storm.
I know. And we're all you know, in search of meaning.
It's so true.
Yeah. In
Yeah.
meaning.
Well,
Well,
and I had a really good just before we
yeah,
close up here, for those people who really have a tough time with visualizing, this is one thing that I got out of that Friday night. Nyla said literally, she imagines herself with like a plug in her heart. Like, so you got a cord and a plug, you actually like plug in and plug in. Like it was actually a really powerful way to plug into the group energy like that, and then to take that plug back and plug it into myself. And I'm like, oh, wow. I heard plug in, plug in, plug in, but to actually imagine a cord, our refrigerator, our computers, our anything that we have power doesn't work unless it's plugged in. Same goes here.
yeah. Even the cordless devices, right? So at some point they
Yes,
need to get charged. Or
exactly.
be available offline, so to speak, or not plugged in. So that's magic, and that's a
Yeah.
good visual aid, in this idea of what plugging in actually looks like. So
Yeah.
I can envision that, certainly.
So that golden white light of energy that we all are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Plug into Mother Nature when you're out on your hike, or when you're surfing the waves. It's all plugging in. It just
Isn't
looks
it?
a little different.
Isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. Magic, my friend. Well, you know what? This has been a great production meeting. Last week she was in her pajamas. This week I'm in my pajamas because this might actually get aired. And here we are, like doing our
Be
thing off
kind.
the cuff.
Be
Be
kind. Be
kind.
kind. Be
Well, I won't
kind.
say mine, but yes, be kind.
Yeah.
And we'll continue to do these little excerpts and see where they come, and because
Yeah.
we don't need to figure out a list of the way that it always should be and all of that stuff. None of that stuff matters. We'll just do it as it comes. So
Yeah.
magic. I love that.
Awesome.
Okay, I'm going. Love you.
Love you, everyone. Subscribe here.
Yeah. Take it easy. Bye, Granny. Bye.
Yeah.